How would you advise business owners to maybe think about the broad strokes instead of the fine strokes, and not to convey the message, break the trust with your employees and your team that they aren't important as well, and the business is the only thing that's important?
Yeah, I wish I could just kind of draw around what you just said, because that's it, right? We have to help them understand that. So how do you do that? One, I think you have 2008. Sometimes leaders got to pay attention to what are they paying attention to. If they're paying attention to the numbers, then sometimes you have to paint the picture and ask, do you remember in 2008, or has there been another time when you've missed the boat and employees haven't been considered part of your true equation of, organizational, realignment and strength and rebuilding? When we miss that, there's an organizational cost to that. Productivity is not as high. People aren't bringing their best selves to the table because I'm not sure you care about me as an employee. And so I might be holding back my creative talent and my, process improvement and the way I treat customers. So there's an organizational impact. There's also organizational impact with morale. If, again, employees don't feel that organizational leaders if they don't care, there's no benevolence. And there's research to back this up, which sometimes kind of blows me away. It's like, you've got to keep all of these things. And that's what leadership is. You have to hold multiple truths. I have to tend to the organizational business and results. But part of that is how we treat our customers, how we treat our stakeholders, partners, but how do we treat our employees?
What's the first step? Is it just getting everybody in the room? Is it starting with leadership? Is it changing mindset? Is it open communication? I'm sure it's all of those things. But could you walk us through just the basic few steps that you would take, in the same way that Glen and I have talked about sales and I've talked about public speaking and reducing nervousness? What would you say about trust repair?
Thank you. Well, the first thing I would offer is I would need some sort of data. Right? What are the indicators? What has happened, and how long has it been happening? Sometimes, Paul, when I get invited to come into an organization, they have what I call trust trauma that happened years ago. And this happens. Sometimes it's 10 years ago. And if it hasn't been resolved, that is still part of the equation right now that we're going to have to do some work around. So I need to check in first. I check in with the leadership team, and I have some assessment tools just to find out what's going on there, because sometimes I have to concentrate my efforts there first, and then we can work the rest of the system. And sometimes I try to do that simultaneously, but I still need to work with the executive team first.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I've seen from times where I've been in different organizations where they've brought in consultant for A, B, or C, that inevitably the things that the consultant brings up are the same things the team members have been saying. But when it comes from an expert, now we need to address this.
Yeah, you're right. When I was an internal practitioner, right, and I had been there 8 years, it kind of reached the point where people weren't really listening. Somewhere it's just like, but you develop patterns with people, and so I sometimes it's just good to stop and get a refresh.
Are you saying that there are moments where you have to shake things up a little bit to get their attention?
Of course. We human beings, right? We develop patterns because we want to be in connection and relationship with others.
Right.
And so it's a dance at first with a coach or an outside organization. Because I see myself, as an organization development consultant, I see myself going in and working with the system to offer, holding the mirror up, insight, right? And this is why you were just saying, Glen, having someone from the outside to say some of the same things, like you just said, Paul, people that were saying that within the organization. I think it's healthy. I do.
I've seen a lot of companies that will all of a sudden go into, well, we need to gain new clientele, so we're going to discount, promote, do something for new customers, but we're not going to reward existing customers. That everyone knows it takes more revenue to bring on a new client than it does to expand your relationship with an existing client. Don't you really see that in this time we're in, probably this year and last year, a lot of businesses are probably going to step on their toe because they're trying to bring on new clients, and they're going to leak a lot of existing clients out the door because it's a small world and we hear about what people are doing?
And that, to me, is a structural issue. And what I mean by that is our organizations rewarding this, because people will go toward that. If you reward or punish me by the more new accounts or new customers I get, and it's not rewarded to keep the old, or you leave the one person on the 1-800 line when the person says, yeah, I want to cancel my service, and they're the ones charged with trying to keep everybody. Well, if there's a whole system of processes and rewards and punishments set up against that one person at the very end to try to talk you out of stopping your service. And again, are they looking at the whole system?
We did have a question, and we usually don't do this, but it seemed very important, so we wanted to bring the person live so they could ask the question. So give me 1 second here.
Hello.
Hi, Victoria.
Hey, Victoria.
Fun. Hi.
Hello.
Yes. We didn't tell Wendy Victoria was coming on, but we know you guys know of each other's work. You've spoken before. So Victoria said a couple of weeks ago, oh, I love Wendy. And I know, Wendy, you were saying the same thing. So Victoria just came rushing on when her availability allowed her, but we wanted to just get the two of you together and do something actually we've never done before in Blabbit, which is to have the four of us. So
you're saying once people rebuild the trust, they have everything in place and ready to move forward, they should understand how to grow in that scope and in that time?
Well, what's interesting, Glenn, is that through the process of actually building all that is where the growth happens. And so a lot of people think that it's an outcome. Post-traumatic growth is an outcome and a process. The whole idea of it is great, but then my passion, and I think Wendy's is as well, is actually supporting people in the tangible aspects of getting to it, which creates all the change because it's all the actions.
Really, what both of you are talking about is a change in mindset that actually could be the empowerment that a lot of people feel has been kind of stripped away.
And that's what I look for. Are people willing to hold the mirror up? Are they willing to explore? And that's why our work can't be done after each other. It has to be done in tandem, because as you do these pieces along the way, there's this self-reflection. What's my intention? What am I learning? How do I continue to evolve? And do I let others evolve?